In this episode of What Happened, we delve into the events which led to the death of Cornelius E. Gunter, a prominent figure in the golden era of rhythm and blues. A talented and cherished member of several influential musical groups, his career spanned almost 4 decades. His life, however, was cut short under tragic and mysterious circumstances, leaving fans and loved ones searching for answers. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me in this episode of What Happened. Famously known as Cornell, Cornelius E. Gunter was born on November 14, 1936 in Coffeyville, Kansas. His parents, Parvin Lewis Gunter and Reba Mae Medlock, would marry and go on to have 8 children. In 1943, his father relocated the family to Los Angeles to find work, and the family would settle in as permanent fixtures in the new city. Though his mother was a school teacher, she also sang on the radio a few times a week. It was the start of the musical family, which would come to include siblings Shirley, Gloria, Patty, and Cornelius. Around 1950, Reba separated from Parvin, who at the time was a prisoner working on road construction at the Sheriff's Department Honors Camp. It was a camp constructed for low-level prisoners in lieu of chain gangs, which was abolished in 1949. Cornell was the first family member to pursue singing, and in 1952, he sang with a group called the Flamingos, which was an unstable group of singers who rotated as the members became available. Just as the group was ready to begin recording, another group from Chicago with the same name started hitting it big on the Los Angeles charts, so they decided to change their names from the Flamingos to the Platters. In June of 1953, Cornell would leave the group to join the Debonaires, a group formed while attending Jefferson High School in Los Angeles. They began recording for the Flair label owned by the Bahari brothers. Joe Bahari, the youngest of the brothers, was charged to handle the group and at the bequest of the label suggested they change their name to the Flairs. After much consideration, the group agreed and believed by doing so that the label would have a greater stake in pushing their records. Soon after, the label released their very first record in July of 1953 titled, I Had a Love. Although the song didn't reach national success, on September 5, 1953, it was rated a pick of the week, selling tens of thousands of copies on the West Coast. It was reported to also have done well in St. Louis, Cincinnati, Philadelphia, and Chicago. On August 15, 1953, the Flairs, who were 16 years old at the time, were invited and would make their first public appearance at Gene Norman's 4th annual Rhythm and Blues Jamboree at Los Angeles Shrine Auditorium. They would go on to record several records, and on October 8, 1953, recorded Baby Once and You Were Untrue with Ike Turner on guitar. It was released in 1954 and became a minor hit for the group, selling 130,000 copies. It was also the subject of controversy due to misinterpretation of the lyrics, leading to radio bans and even an FBI investigation. In the summer of 1954, Beverly Thompson departed the group, leaving them with only 4 members. Friction would soon arise between the remaining members, and Richard Berry would also leave. On September 11, 1954, in an issue of the Cashbox magazine, it was reported that Richard Berry had become a member of the Dreamers, a new group signed to the Flair label, which featured himself as the lead vocalist with 5 teenage girls. In 1954, Cornell's sister Shirley Gunter would also be signed to the Flair label with her group, Shirley Gunter and the Queens. The group shared moderate success, with only one record reaching number 8 on the R&B chart. And after only 8 months together, with 4 singles and a couple of tours under their belt, the group broke up in 1956. Shirley then joined her brother Cornell and the Flairs, where she recorded only a few songs before quietly leaving the group. She would go on to record occasionally without much success, and her last known recording was for Ray Charles's Tangerine Records in 1969. Although the group was becoming a bit unstable, in 1955, the Flares would also do some backup work for the young Etta James. Some of their last songs recorded was She Loves to Dance and My Darling, My Sweet. Shortly thereafter, Charles Jackson left the group to join the Chimes, and Randy Jones also departed, becoming an emergency replacement for Bruce Tate and the Penguins. And with only 3 members of the original group left, including Cornell, the group would soon break up for good. Still in high school, Cornell recruited his cousin Kenneth Biley and 2 other members from his school to form a new Flares group. Zeke Manners, a disc jockey, would sign them to his new Loma label and begin recording with the group. Manners would soon realize that using the name Flares was becoming an issue, so he decided to change it to Cornell Gunter and the Ermines. Between 1955 and 56, the group recorded several records together, but internal conflicts would eventually lead to the demise of the group. In 1957, Cornell Gunter and Will Dub Jones would join the Coasters with original members Carl Gardner and Billy Guy. The decision to join the Coasters came just in time to record hit song Yakety Yak, which reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart in 1958 and spent 7 weeks as number 1 on the R&B charts. It was one of several hit singles released by the Coasters between 1957 and 59, dominating the charts and solidifying their status as a major act in the rock and roll era. Their early success was attributed to the songwriting team of Jerry Leiber and Mike Stoller, who had a production deal with Atlantic Records. They wrote several songs for the group, and their next single, Charlie Brown, reached number 2 on both charts. Over the next several years, due to changes within the lineup of the group, the Coasters experienced minimal success, which contributed to the lack of the hits in the 1960s. Gunter left the Coasters and in 1961 formed These Gentlemen, a vocal group who toured with Dinah Washington as backup singers. In 1963, he formed his own Coasters group called the Fabulous Coasters. The group became stage favorites and performed with various lineups throughout the 1980s. In 1987, the Coasters became the first group inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which credited the 1958 group members to which Cornell Gunter belonged. The group also joined the Vocal Group Hall of Fame in 1999. After spending many years performing with the Fabulous Coasters, tragedy struck. And on February 26, 1990, at the age of 53, Cornell Gunter was found shot to death in his car in Las Vegas. According to reports, he was seen at an intersection in North Las Vegas talking to a black man on the driver's side of his car when an argument ensued between the two. Shortly thereafter, 2 gunshots were heard, and according to witnesses, Gunter attempted to flee the scene before driving his car into a brick wall due to his severe injuries. It appeared that he was shot through the windshield and was found slumped over the steering wheel with 2 gunshot wounds to the chest. The suspect was seen fleeing the scene with a gun in his hand, and when the police arrived, Gunter had succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced dead. In the process of making a comeback, according to Janet Mazarowski, a spokeswoman with the Lady Luck Hotel in Las Vegas, Gunter and the Coasters were set to perform that weekend. Sammy Davis Jr. and Bill Cosby paid for all of his funeral expenses, and Cornelius Cornell Gunter was laid to rest in Inglewood, California. He was the second member of his group to be killed under mysterious circumstances. Cornell's bass singer Nate Buster Wilson was killed in 1980 by then-manager Patrick Cavanaugh. Parts of his body were found near Hoover Dam shortly after the murder, and 2 years later, other parts of the body were found in a canyon near Modesto, California. After the death of Wilson, the group continued as a trio during the 1980s with Charlie Duncan and Edward Cook, who replaced Harper in 1980. On a quiet night in Las Vegas, Nevada, Cornell Gunter's life came to a sudden and tragic end. His untimely death is shrouded in mystery with more questions than answers. Despite an extensive investigation, no suspects were ever found, and the case remains unsolved to this day. Cornell Gunter's voice and spirit remains through the songs and memories he left behind as one of rhythm and blues greats. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of What Happened. As always, please like, comment, and share this video. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you can always be the first to know what happened. Until next time.